Hey everyone. Had to run home and help my daughter real quick. She had an accident at school, and so we came home real quick to take care of it, and then we'll get her feeling better and get her hopefully back to school. Anyway, I am taking a look at a couple of things here. Wanted to let you guys know that we are working on, if we don't have it up already, a Patreon page to kind of get your guys' thoughts, ideas, votes, things like that out there so that you guys can take more of a participation role in which books we read next, what games maybe we try next, what different activities maybe we go to. Maybe there's something you want us to find somewhere and you want to send us there, or you want us to go record and find out more about it, or basically we're going to use this, the Patreon page as kind of a voting tool to show us what you guys want to see, what you guys want out of this channel, and what you guys would like for us to move forward with. We've got a lot of books that we've read the first book of the series for, and we'd like to kind of take a look and see if maybe you guys want the next book in the series. Maybe it's something that at the time when I had asked, it wasn't very popular, but maybe through Patreon and maybe through you guys looking at it, it ends up being something that in the future you guys want to see, and that would be a place then to kind of give it an upvote, or kind of vote for it when you want, or if you guys want those next chapters. Let me go ahead here real quick and drop the volume, maybe on my phone. And we will get started here on Jim Butcher's White Knight, which is book 9 of the Dresden Files. We're on chapter 10 right now. So if you've missed those previous chapters, those previous books, or you want to look at the other books that I have, that I've read, do go ahead, kind of give me a look through the playlists and let me know what you guys think. But whilst we're grabbing this book, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this with others. We do still have a goal where we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of January. But let me go ahead here. I kind of want to find out what's going to happen when Dresden goes to the Ordo Lebes apartment and finds out who this person who was veiled is, or was. Let's go ahead and find out together. I swept the beetle for bombs again, and got the impression that I was going to get heartily sick of the chore fast. It was clean, and off we went. I parked illegally on a street about a block from Anna Ashe's apartment, and walked the rest of the way in. I rang buzzers more or less at random until someone buzzed me in, and headed back up the stairs to Anna's apartment. This time, though, I went in armed for bear. As I rode up in the elevator, I got out my jar of unguent, a dark brown concoction that stained the skin for a couple of days. I dabbed a finger in it and smeared it lightly on my eyelids and at the base of my eyes. It was an ointment originally intended to counter fairy glamour, allowing those who had it to see through illusions to reality. It wasn't quite right for seeing through a veil wrought with mortal magic, but it should be strong enough to show me something of whatever the veil was hiding. I should be able to glimpse an emotion, and that would at least give me an idea of which way to face if things got dicey. I brought Mouse for a reason, too. Besides being a small mountain of loyal muscle and ferocious fangs, Mouse could sense bad guys and dark magic when they were nearby. I had yet to encounter the creature that could sneak by Mouse unobserved. But just in case today was the day, I had the ungent, as a backup plan. I got off the elevator, and the hairs on the back of my neck immediately rose up. Mouse lifted his head sharply, looking back and forth down the hall. He'd felt what I had. A fine cloud of magic hung over the entire floor. I touched it carefully and found a suggestion of sleep. One of the classics, really. This one wasn't heavy, as such things go. I'd seen one sleep spell that flattened an entire ward of Cook County Hospital. I'd used another to protect Murphy's sanity, and it had kept her out for nearly 2 days. This one wasn't like it. It was light, barely noticeable, and not at all threatening. It was delicate and fine enough to filter into homes even through the thresholds, most of which were weak enough. Apartments never seemed to have as much defense as a real, discreet home. If those other spells had been sleeping medication, this one would have been a glass of warm milk. Someone wanted the residents of the floor to be insensible enough not to notice something, but not so out as to be endangered should there be an emergency, like the building catching fire or burning down. Don't look at me like that. It's a lot likelier than you'd think. Anyway, the suggestion was another finely crafted spell. Delicate, precise, subtle, much like the earlier veil Lashiel had spotted. Whoever, or whatever, was crafting these workings was a pro. I made sure my shield bracelet was ready to go, and marched up to Anna's door. I could sense the ward still there, still active, so I thumped my staff on the floor immediately in front of the door. "Miss Ash?" I called. It wasn't like I was going to wake anyone up. "It's Harry Dresden. We need to talk." There was silence. I repeated myself. I heard a sound, that of someone striving to move silently, a scuff or a creak so faint that I wasn't sure it had been real. I checked Mouse. His ears were pricked up, swiveled forward. He'd heard it too. Someone flushed a toilet on the floor above us. I heard a door open and close, a faint sound, also on another floor. There was no further sound from Anna Asha's apartment. I didn't like where this was going. "Stand back, buddy," I told Mouse. He did, backing away in that clumsy reverse waddle walk dogs do. I turned to the ward. It was like the little pig's straw house. It wouldn't last more than a second or two against a big bad wolf. "And I'll huff and I'll puff," I muttered. I drew on my will, took the staff in both hands, pressed one end slowly toward the door. "Solvas," I muttered. "Solvas. Solvas." As the staff touched the door, I sent a gentle surge of will coursing down through its length. It passed through the wood visibly, the carved wounds in it briefly illuminated from within by pale blue light. My will hit Anna's door and scattered out in a cloud of pinprick sparkles of white light as my power unbound the patterns of the ward and reduced them to merely anarchy. "Anna," I called again. "Miss Ash." No answer. I tried the doorknob. It was unlocked. "That can't be good," I told Mouse. "Here we go." I quietly opened the door, giving it a gentle push so that it would swing wide and let me see inside the darkened apartment. At which point, the trap sprung. For traps to work, though, they needed to catch their target off his guard. I had my new and improved shield bracelet ready with greenish light flashed in the dark apartment and rushed swiftly toward me. I lifted my left hand. Around my wrist was a chain made of braided strands of several metals. Silver pergamon. The metal shields that hung from the bracelet had, in its previous incarnation, been solid silver as well. They had been replaced with shields of silver, iron, copper, nickel, and brass. The new shield wasn't like the old one. The old one had provided an intangible barrier meant to deflect solid matter and kinetic energy. It hadn't been made to stop, for example, heat. That's how my left hand got roasted practically down to the bones. It had been of only limited use against other forms of magic or energy. If there hadn't been a war on, and if I hadn't been spending so much time drilling Molly in the fundamentals, and therefore getting in all kinds of extra practice myself, I would never have considered attempting to create such a complex focus. It was far more complicated than almost anything I'd done before. 5 years ago, it would have been beyond me completely. More to the point, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been as experienced or as strongly motivated. But that was then, and this was now. The shield that formed in front of me was not the familiar, translucent, part dome of pale blue light. Instead, it flared into place as a blurring swirl of colors that solidified in an instant into a curving rampart of silver energy. The new shield was far more thorough than the old. Not only would it stop everything the old one had, but it would provide shelter against heat, cold, electricity, even sound and light if I needed it to. It had also been designed to turn aside a fairly broad spectrum of supernatural energies. It was this last that was very important at the moment. A globe of green lightning sizzled over the apartment's threshold and abruptly expanded. Buzzing arcs of verdant electricity interconnected in a diamond pattern like a weave of a fisherman's net. The spell fell on my shield, and the meeting of energies yielded a torrent of angry yellow sparks that rebounded from the shield, scattering over the hall, the doorway, and bouncing back into the apartment. I dropped the shield as I brandished my staff, sent a savage torrent of power down my arm, and snarled, "Fozare!" Unseen force lashed through the doorway and splashed against the apartment's threshold. Most of the spell's power struck that barrier, ground it out, and was dissipated. What amounted to less than 1% of the power I had cast out actually made it through the doorway, as I had known it would. Instead of delivering a surge of energy strong enough to flip over a car, it delivered only a blow strong enough to knock an adult from her feet. I heard a woman's voice let out a surprised grunt at the impact, and heavy objects clattered to the floor. "Mouse!" I shouted. The big dog bounded forward through the doorway, and I went in right behind him. Once again, the apartment's threshold stripped away my power, leaving me all but utterly unable to wield magic, which is why I brought my .44 revolver with me. Tucked into a duster pocket, I had it in my left hand as I came through the door, and hit the main light switch with my right elbow, bellowing, "I have not had a very good day." Mouse had someone pinned on the ground and kept them there by virtue of simply sitting on them. 200 pounds of Mouse is an awfully effective restraint, and though he had his teeth bared, he wasn't actively struggling or making any noise. To my right, Anna Ash stood frozen like a rabbit in a spotlight, and my gun tracked to her immediately. "Don't move," I warned her. "I don't have any magic at the moment, and that always makes me really, really ready to pull the trigger." "Oh, God," she said, her voice a rough whisper. She licked her lips, visibly trembling. "Okay," she said. "Okay. Don't hurt me, please. You don't have to do this." I told her to walk over to Mouse and his prisoner. Once she was standing where I could watch both of them at once. I could relax a little, and though I did not lower the gun, I took my finger off the trigger. "Do what?" "What you've done to the others," Anna said, her voice thready. You don't have to do this. Not anymore. Not to anyone." "The others?" I demanded. I probably sounded at least half as disgusted as I felt. "You think I came here to kill you?" She blinked at me a few times. Then she said, "You came here. You broke down my door and pointed a gun at me. What am I supposed to think?" "I did not break down your door. It was unlocked." "You tore apart my ward." "Because I thought you might be in trouble, you twit," I hollered. "I thought the killer might be here already." The woman let out a couple of gasping chokes. After a moment, I realized that it was the person Mouse had pinned down, letting out breathless laughter. I lowered the gun and put it away. "For crying out loud! You thought the killer was coming for you, so you laid a trap for him?" "Well, no," Anna said, now looking somewhat confused again. "I mean, I didn't do it. The order, we hired a private investigator to look into it. It was her idea to trap the killer when it came here." "A private investigator?" I looked over at the other woman and said, "Mouse?" My dog, tail waving gently, backed off right away and trotted over to stand beside me. The woman he'd been holding down sat up. She was pale. Not the sickly pallor of no time in the sun, but the color of the living, healthy skin of a tree beneath the outer bark. Her lean face was intensely attractive, more intriguing than beautiful, with wide, intelligent eyes set over an expressive, genuous mouth. She had a slim build, all long legs and long arms, and wore a simple pair of jeans along the back of an Aerosmith t-shirt, and brown leather Birkenstocks. She propped herself up on her elbows, a tendril of wheat-colored hair falling to almost instantly concealed one eye, and gave me a smile. "Hello, Harry." She dabbed her fingers at a little bloody spot on her lower lip and winced, though there was still amusement in her voice. "Is that a new staff, or are you just happy to see me?" And after my heart had skipped a couple of beats, I blinked and said in a very quiet voice, to the first woman I'd, everythinged, "Hello, Elaine." Wait a minute. Wasn't Elaine dead? Anyway, thank you for listening to Chapter 10 with me. We will continue this and get up to through the rest of the book. If you did like this, please do give me a thumbs up. If not, go ahead and give me a thumbs down, but let me know in the comments down below what's going on. I did want to thank you guys so very much for all that you guys have done, for the help that you guys have been for the channel. Wanted to let you guys know again about that Patreon page that is hopefully up by now. I'm also going to be we're going to be doing, I think, one more gaming night with kind of just my brother and I. And we want to kind of see how that's going to progress, if that's going to be something that we move forward with or not, or anyway, I do want to thank you guys again very much. Let me know what you guys think, either in the comments down below and also on the Patreon page, so that we can help this channel grow, so that we can provide more for you guys and more of what you guys want to move forward. Again, thank you guys so very much for all your support, and you have a wonderful day.